Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Bookshelves and Beyond. I've got a little bit of a different one today. So I wanted to do a follow-up. So I don't know if anyone remembers, but about a month and a half ago I think I did, or maybe 2 months ago now. I can't remember, especially because I'm trying to factor in when this is going to be posted. But a while ago anyway, I posted a video about 5 books that I thought was underrated and underappreciated. Well, I wanted to do a follow-up and I wanted to do 5 books, or I think I have more than 5. Oh no, I do have 5 books that I actually think are overrated, which I thought would be something really interesting to do. Obviously this by no means is me bashing anyone who likes these books. This is literally just me saying, hey, I don't like them and I don't see why people like it. So that's literally it. If you love it, then great. I say this every single time, but I think, you know, when it comes to books, it's nice that we as the reader can sometimes like a book and sometimes dislike a book, and it's nice that there are people out there that can like a book that we dislike or dislike a book that we like. So, you know, no hate here or anything like that. This is just, you know, me sharing books that I thought were going to be way better than they actually turned out being. So I think that's how I'm going to play it. So I'm going to go right into the first one, and I'm going to go with A Court of Thorns and Roses. No, I'm joking. I can't even say that. I love this book. This book isn't overrated. This book is rated correctly. Okay, I'm joking. That's not part of the list. Anyway, I'm going to start with 2 books actually. So I do have 5, but I'm going to start with 2 books that I've got here, and I'm going to kind of do them together because they were included on a previous video that I've just done. I read both of these books in April, and it's How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie and Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I read both of these books in April, so if you saw my previous wrap-up, my April wrap-up, then you will know all about these 2. So I'm not really going to go into it because I'm hoping that I can direct you to that video so you can see why I didn't like these books. But basically, I didn't really like these. I ended up giving Daisy Jones and the Six 2 stars on Goodreads, and I ended up giving How to Kill Your Family 1 star on Goodreads, and this is actually my first DNF ever recorded. So go to that video to see why I didn't like these 2. So the next book I am going to talk about, I ended up listening to as well as reading because I found it quite heavy to get through. And this is Babel or Babel by R.F. Kuang. Now, I was really looking forward to this as it's like a fictional history about magic and the arcane, and it sounds quite cool, and I was really looking forward to it. I was expecting it to be a lot more fun than it was, but the book was not fun. It was very serious. It was very boring for me, and I also found it to be almost a bit too academic for me. I felt like I felt very stupid trying to read this because there was a lot of times where there was words and things that I'd have to look up to see what they meant. And I hate having to read a book where I don't understand what things mean, so I have to pause, look at what it is, understand what it is, and come back. It's very annoying to have to keep on coming out of that reading zone, and especially because I ended up listening to it on Audible as well after a while. It got more tedious having to pause it, look it up, play it again. It was just very academic, and that wasn't for me, and I don't think I truly anticipated it to be that smart. I didn't expect to feel dumb reading this, and I felt like I was made to feel dumb reading this because it's not a friendly book. It's not a book that anyone could pick up. I have a short attention span as it is, and I really had a short attention span reading this. I struggled to read multiple chapters in one go. I found myself counting down the pages until the chapter was over. And I don't want to be doing that when I'm reading a book. Now, again, this is all my opinion, and I'm sure there's people out there that love this book. In fact, if I double check the rating of this on Goodreads, it probably has a pretty good rating, which is fine. Yeah, 4.2 stars this it has on average on Goodreads. I ended up rating it, I can't see my rating. Oh, apparently I didn't rate it. Apparently I didn't rate it in the end, so I don't know. But I read it in September last year, and I was quite busy over that period of time as well, so let me rate it now actually. So apparently I haven't rated it, which is silly, but let's rate it now. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It for me was too heavy. I never felt in the mood to read it, and I was constantly forcing myself to read it. So I think this book was a bit overrated. Another book that I think is overrated, and is another book that got popular over TikTok, is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Thau. This book was so coma-inducing. It was so boring to me. So it's essentially about a girl who is in school in America, I think, and she loses her boyfriend. Her boyfriend passes away. I can't remember how he passes away. I can't really remember much, but he passes away. And she is struggling to move on and struggling with dealing with her grief. And then she starts seeing him in like these weird hallucinations, and she starts talking to him on the phone. It's weird. On the surface, I thought this book was going to be really good, and I thought it was going to be quite sad. That sounds like something I'd quite enjoy. But I found the main character to be very self-centered. She never took into account other people's grief. It was very, oh, well, I'm suffering, so, you know, nothing else matters. No one else matters. I suppose that's a part of dealing with grief, but it got to a point where, even at the end of the book, where it was supposed to meet its conclusion, its resolution, she still seemed very in that mindset of main character syndrome, very other people's feelings don't matter. She was also very in denial. She finds herself talking onto the phone with him even though he's already passed away. And she's very in denial about the fact that he's not actually dead and all that sort of thing. And it was quite difficult to read, and it's definitely geared towards a younger audience, and I think that was also my problem. I think this would be great for teens, if I'm completely honest, but it was not really for me. And although TikTok made me buy it, TikTok did not make me love it. So another book that I also wanted to talk about in this video, and if you have me on TikTok, you'll know that I don't use the word hate very much when it comes to books, but this book I hated. I really did. And it was Ali Hazelwood's Love on the Brain. This was awful. So awful. Again, this was another case of pick me girl. B in this book was huge pick me vibes. She was again stuck in her own head, very main character syndrome. It wasn't just that I didn't like her, it was also I didn't like the ending. The ending was like, the book was kind of sweet, and you're reading it and you're thinking, okay, don't really like her, but that's fine. Sweet. I like the guy in it, was nice. He was nice. Alright, okay, yeah, cool. Oh, okay, yeah, it's alright. What on earth is going on? Do you know what I mean? It's like instantly when it gets to the last chapter, it's like, whoa, everything, like, not everything exploding, but it's like that when you're reading it. It's like, where has this come from all of a sudden? Why is it so 0 to 100? And I didn't like that. I really didn't like that, and that didn't help. I feel like I would have rated this book a lot more if I obviously liked the main character, but I would have rated it more if the ending was a bit more in proportion to the rest of the book. The ending was unrealistic. I think that was another thing as well, and there was also parts in the book where it was kind of like, no one acts like that, no one reacts that way. And the main character was so clumsy and she didn't realise how pretty she was. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah. A typical female character in these sorts of romance books. And I didn't like a lot of the opinions that B had either. she was very, if your opinion isn't mine, like isn't in line with my opinion, then I don't like you as a person, and I didn't agree with that. And again, and I think this is very similar to this book, which is funny how they're both pink, but I feel like the author was pushing a lot of their opinions on the main character in here, like this author was. And I feel like they made the main characters just a reflection of themselves in a way. And I don't like that. And unfortunately for Ali, and unfortunately for Bella, these are the only books I've read of theirs, and it doesn't really invite me to reading more of theirs. Another book that I do want to mention as well is a book that I read on my Kindle. I do own it in physical, but when I read it, and I think this was about a year ago, I actually read it on my Kindle. So this book is quite unfortunate really, because I liked the first one, I loved the second one, and this one kind of has put me off from reading the last of the series. So it's a 4-part series. I don't think you necessarily have to read them in order. However, I like to read them in order anyway. And this is Twisted Hate. So this is the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I loved number 1, Twisted Love. I love number 2, Twisted Games. Number 3 is the last one I've read. I haven't read the 4th one yet. I didn't really like it, and I thought it was quite overrated, if I'm honest. It's got 4 stars on Goodreads, which is surprising to me. It's got more of an average score than the first book, and I thought the first book was good, was better than that one. So it's interesting to see that. I thought this book was overrated because possibly it's because I didn't really like the relationship that the main characters had, and that might be exactly the reason why. But the main the main characters had a very love-hate relationship, and they hated each other for ages and ages and ages. So the main character in this book is a friend of the guy's sister. Yeah, it's a friend of the guy's sister. So they've known each other for ages, because obviously they've known each other through the sister, and they've hated each other. Every opportunity they get, they try and get one up on each other. They call each other names, they bully each other, they're horrible to each other, absolutely hate each other. And I think from memory, Jules, the female in the book, finds herself working with the guy. I think that's what goes on. I think that's how it starts. And they obviously hate each other, so they try to get one up in work and all that sort of thing. Then they find out that actually, do they really hate each other? Or is it just love that they're misunderstanding for hate? It was quite spicy, and it was a lot of hate-induced spice, which I don't really enjoy. And the characters were quite horrible, and they weren't really nice people. I mean, the only thing I liked about the book was the main character was supposed to be plus size, so that's a win-win for the plus size ladies. Other than that, it was just long. It was too long, I think. That also didn't help. So the first and second books were about 300 to 400 pages, and I think this one was like 500 pages, and it was just way too long for the plot. And I think there wasn't really much plot anyway. It was just them falling in love, and not much happened. I think Jules had an issue with her ex or something that I can't really remember, and I think that was part of the plot, that she was going through this traumatic experience that she had with her ex, and the guy was trying to comfort her that they hated each other. I honestly, this book was just confusing on so many levels, and I think it was overrated. Although that one was overrated, number 1 and number 2 of that series are really, really good. Number 2 is my favourite, and it's really, really good, and the characters in there are lovely, and there's no toxicity, which is great. The first one has a bit of toxicity in there, quite a lot actually, but it starts off on that foot, so you're not like, oh okay, that's, you know, that's expected. Number 2 is just so heartwarming, so I definitely recommend to pick up number 2 if you're looking at picking any of those up. That is essentially all I've got to talk about in today's video. It's just a couple of books that I just thought were overrated. There are a lot of books on my shelves that perhaps weren't a 4 or 5 star, but I don't think they were overrated. And just because these books rate the same doesn't mean they're also overrated, if that makes sense. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know down below in the comments what is one book that you've read that was super hyped and you thought really high of it before going into it, and then you read it and you thought that didn't deserve the hype that it got. Let me know down below if you've read any book like that. I'm really interested to know. It's really interesting to know what people think about these books that majority of people love. Also follow me in all of my social media, which is always linked below, and I can include it below here as well for you. I'll try and link below my Vinted and also my Goodreads as well if you want to keep up to date with what I'm currently reading and my reviews. I'm currently away. I believe I'm currently away. If I'm posting this when I want to post this, I will be away. Apologies if I haven't been active on social media. That is because I'm currently having a nice time on holiday. I should be back after this video. Again, if I'm posting it when I want to be posting this. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, wonderful week, a wonderful month, a wonderful year, a wonderful life. And like, comment and subscribe and all those normal things. And I will see you next week in next week's video. Bye!